2050 may seem like the distant future, but it's closer than you might think.
By then, it's estimated the world will need to produce about 60% more food to feed a global population of more than 9 billion people.
Experts say meeting that demand will require a rethinking of the food supply. And in recent years, there's been increased interest in so-called vertical farms as a way to help address food insecurity in the U.S. and beyond.
But as this emerging industry looks to take root, reporter Heather Graff explores what it will take to succeed and finds there are highs and lows to what some see as the future of farming.
An old brick building on the outside.
We started in 2022.
But on the inside,
Perfect.
what was once a warehouse
We can kind of take over any space.
is now a fully functional farm.
We are harvesting turnips.
No rolling fields of crops in this setting. Instead, everything grown at Area 2 Farms is part of a vertical operation, stacked in layers inside a shelving unit that stretches from floor to ceiling.
Well, we grow over 180 different varieties of plants here.
Community manager Jackie Stanton explains it's a type of controlled environment agriculture known as vertical farming. And here in Arlington, Virginia, their fresh produce is then sold through a weekly delivery service to local customers who live within 10 miles of this indoor farm.
I think my favorite part is just watching their eyes light up and be like, wow, this is what real food tastes like. The biggest benefit is being close to the consumer.
Jackie says it's a game changer when you consider a lot of foods in the U.S. travel thousands of miles before they get to your plate.
Our mission is to move the farm, not the food.
Even the USDA, in this 2018 write-up about vertical farming, said that producing fresh greens and vegetables close to urban populations could help meet growing global food demands.
The vision is to grow more in a smaller space, right? And the only way you can do that is by growing vertically.
Eric Stein is executive director at the Center of Excellence for Indoor Agriculture and says there's actually a long list of potential upsides to vertical farming.
So one, typically, because you're in a controlled environment, you typically don't have to use pesticides, right? Secondly, the water will be recycled. You'll use about only 10% of the amount of water that you would use in a field setting.
And since they're indoors, vertical farms are considered largely climate-proof and can thus produce food year-round. Even so, Stein often warns the industry is not without risk. In recent years, several big vertical farm companies have struggled financially. For instance, Plenty Unlimited filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March of 2025, just 6 months after touting the opening of its massive, high-tech vertical strawberry farm in Virginia. At the time of the filing, Plenty's interim CEO released a statement that said in part, "Our company is not immune from larger market dynamics and the fundraising challenges facing our industry."
Why are we seeing some vertical farms go under?
A lot of reasons. We start with investment capital costs. Some of the larger indoor farms have gotten upwards of $1 billion. In my opinion, that's a mistake. Unrealistic expectations. And they were sold the idea that they were going to have 5x, 10x on their money within, say, 3 to 5 years. It's just simply not true.
And among the biggest hurdles to a vertical farm's profitability, Stein says, are high energy costs.
Energy in the form of the lighting, because you're going to be using typically artificial lighting, which is going to be very expensive. Plants need about 10 times the amount of light that we do.
So you can see that the plants move on these wheels right here.
Back at Area 2 Farms, Stanton showed us how their vertical farm has been designed to try to minimize lighting costs, using a conveyor belt system to mimic the 24-hour cycle of darkness and light that a plant would normally experience outdoors.
The bottom 2 layers of our farm are not lit, and once the plants come onto the 3rd layer, they'll get their breakfast, they'll get their light for the day, and the plants just heat up as they circle throughout the system.
So are the plants constantly moving?
About every 2 hours they move.
Why is that important?
We've actually reduced about 25% of our light due to the bottom 2 layers of our farm not being lit. Just like the basement in your house, it's very cool, and then the top level of your house is warmer. We just use the natural heat rising of the room.
If it sounds a bit complicated, Stanton admits it can be and says their team is working constantly to streamline and improve its techniques.
Investing a lot of money into an indoor farm and you're not doing anything different than field farming is where a lot of these businesses are failing.
In the meantime, there is some help on the way in the form of research.
We're trying to look at it as a multidisciplinary problem area.
Carrie Mitchell is a professor of horticulture at Purdue University, one of several schools partnering on a federally funded initiative called Optimi-A, or Optimizing Indoor Agriculture.
It's not just a technology, it's not just a crop, it's the economics of it, it's putting it together.
So with a goal of making vertical farms sustainable long-term, Mitchell says he's been working to develop new LED lighting strategies that could increase crop yield and reduce energy costs.
Is the industry eventually going to succeed? Yes, it is. But it's not going to come overnight.
What would your advice be to companies who are perhaps considering getting into vertical farming?
Start small for sure.
Many of them sized their businesses way too large.
The experts and this local vertical farm in agreement on that final point.
We have about 10 people on staff.
In an industry with sky-high ambitions, perhaps bigger is not always better.
In the last few years, vertical farms have also been eyed as a potential solution to help fill empty office buildings and commercial space in urban areas. You'll remember a lot of cities struggled with that following the COVID-19 pandemic and a big shift to remote work.
When we asked industry experts about the possibility, we heard mixed reviews. Ultimately, most said it depends on the size of the building. For example, in Arlington, Virginia, the vacant warehouse that Area 2 Farms moved into was a perfect fit. But if you're talking about a large office tower in the middle of a city, the Center of Excellence for Indoor Agriculture said it might not make sense.
Basically, the money spent on rent and converting an office space that large could likely get really expensive really quickly.